I have been actually trying to get our speaker out in San Francisco for some time now. I can tell you she's just the tiniest bit busy, so I'm glad we've actually been able to finally make this happen. Marian Salzman and I started with Porter Novelli within days of each other, and I remember thinking when I heard that she was joining the firm, what a great hire, what a terrific idea. We're all involved in one form or another in the communications business, and for someone with Marian's background to come in the role of Chief Marketing Officer for Porter Novelli was a real coup, and I think was a real smart way of thinking, which is one of the things that Porter Novelli always tries to bring to the table. So, and speaking of smart, we have a lot of smart people in this room today. All of you have crossed paths in this little village of ours from time to time. So if you see somebody you don't know, please go up and introduce yourself. I think you'll find we've got quite an excellent crowd here today. I just wanted to touch on a couple of logistical things before we get into the show. We are actually streaming video this live, and we will be recording it so you can have access to it once the presentation is over and in the coming week, and we'll send you all a notice on how you can have access to that. And then for those of you who are interested in Twittering, Marian gave a very well-received presentation in Seattle yesterday. The dialogue and the conversation is already underway, and the hashtag is on the podium right in front of me. And so feel free to join in the discussion right now if you'd like. And for those of you who have no idea what I've just been talking about, we're going to have a remedial Twitter class in the bar afterwards. Just look for me, and I'll try to bring you up to speed as quickly as possible. Marian's got a lot to say, so we'll get right into the show. But very briefly, Marian has authored or co-authored around 15 different books on all manner of marketing and trends and what we can expect to see coming down the road. One of my favorites, The Future of Men. I'm glad to say, my favorite book, I'm glad to say The Future of Men is very bright. Marian also helped popularize the term metrosexual, which is your stylish, sensitive guy, so that rare find out there. So really, with no further ado, it's my great pleasure. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Marian Salzman.
Not only is it the economy that forces me to keep working, it's because I have got to do something to ensure it doesn't say on my tombstone, metrosexual. But I did not create the word. I found it, and what an extraordinary word it's been. Unfortunately, it's also a word, like a lot of other words, that goes the way of fads. And I'd say the faddish word of today is probably frugalista. And a lot of what you're going to hear is going to come through the lens of someone who believes we're really not quite yet at the bottom of a pretty negative psyche and a pretty negative consumer economy. We're living in a world today of complete and total convergence. And by that, I don't just mean technical convergence. Years ago, we would sit around, and I was the first head of new media at Chiat back in the early 1990s, and we'd sit around and we'd talk about PC, TV, and would your refrigerator ever order food for you? And we would talk about all these things sort of in the sci-fi format. And today, convergence means to me a lot more interesting things. And we're living in this totally converged life. All the old boundaries are falling away. Black and white blurring into shades of gray. But private and public are really blending together. In fact, I can even think about the fact that a meeting like this a decade ago, people would have been horrified at the idea that somebody was taking notes and republishing your notes without your permission. And yet today we completely accept the fact people are going to Twitter about it, people are going to watch this on streaming video, they're going to comment on it, they're going to offer critique on it, they're going to pass it along, they're going to snip it up, they're probably going to recolor me, they're going to recast me, they're going to do anything they want to with it. Fact and fiction are going to blend together, which is interesting because we worried about what new journalism meant in the 70s, and today we don't worry about what does reality TV mean. We don't even consider what does reality mean. We don't even worry about what does true mean. We think of TRU in front of the words TV. We just proceed. News and entertainment are blended together, young and old. We don't really know what is old anymore. We just know that 40 was first the new 20, 30 is the new... We just don't know how old anything is. We don't know what aging is. What we do know is that the new middle youth market is probably 50 to 70. And if things continue economically, people may keep working well into their 70s because they need to keep bringing home some form of paycheck as long as the paycheck is available to them. Home and office is totally blended together, and as long as you're carrying around your portable office with you in the form of a PDA or a telephone that does computing, you're working anyway. And so filling out a timesheet is really a misnomer because you're working all the time. Online and offline, what does that really mean? The only thing it really means is when you check your Facebook list, it tells you you're offline and you're not actually in a position to chat. But then it's probably okay because you probably have your PDA set so that you could be chatting through an online chatting mechanism. We're really in this place where we don't know who we are or what we are, so we really are converged. And by that I mean we don't really know where one thing ends and another thing begins. We don't really know what's a private moment in a private space. We don't really know what we need to keep as private information. We don't really care about private information any longer. And in the age of radical transparency, I think we actually resent things that other people keep private. We don't understand it. We think that they must have something that's shameful behind there. So private is simply what you keep within your heart. We're also at a point now where suddenly local is the new global. A real turnoff is things that are overly global. It's not to say we don't want to go to Bollywood movies, we do. It's not to say we're not interested in ethnic cuisine, we absolutely are. If a new Ethiopian restaurant were to open up, we'd be very, very interested. But I dare you to serve Ecuadorian melon this evening at a dinner you hold in your home with your neighbors and not have them roll their noses because you're very, very ungreen. And the localivores in the crowd be very, very put off if you brought wines from Chile or wines from New Zealand. Today we're going to define our new neighborhood, or the most desirable neighborhood, is exactly how far you'd let your 11 or 12-year-old go on two wheels. How far would you let them take their bicycle or their skateboard? And you'd feel good and safe. You're perfectly okay if they're going to do video gaming or they're going to be electronic chatting or video chatting with somebody any place on the planet, but you're only going to let them go a certain geographic distance on those two wheels. And that's about how far away you want to be engaged in terms of your near, in, and deep community. We want to basically have these local roots because the world is completely out of control, and we only feel like we can control what we actually can see. We also feel like it's pretty much the only place we can afford to be. And even if we can afford to be someplace else, because remember, despite all the conversation about how bad the economy is, unemployment still is anywhere from 8% to 12%, depending on whose numbers you really want to believe. Most of us still have jobs. We feel that it's very pretentious to appear to be well employed right now. You don't want to be seen with shopping bags. You don't want to be seen carrying a prestigious, high design, high concept bag into your home. What's the matter with you? Don't you realize the rest of the world is suffering? There's a real anti-bling thing. There's a real anti-luxury thing that isn't going to go away. I don't believe that the luxury shopping market and the buying imported goods market is going to come back for a long time to come. People really understand that all of a sudden part of being local is if I don't need it, I don't want it. And a part of being local also is if it wasn't made right here, it isn't necessarily something that I need to have in this house right now.